YouTube, what the fuck is going on with my hair? Raren. I think that's what he said. Raren. The creator that a lot of you knew before you knew me, because I get about 100 messages on my stream every single day saying, hey, found you from Raren. Rar. A lot of you are horny and furries. Either way, I got the idea from him to yoink and twist his card rating content and put it into Slay the Spire. You see, oftentimes he takes a creator that hasn't played Hearthstone in a while, or maybe plays a different card game, and says, is this card good or is this card bad? And they rank it blindly based on what they think the value of the card would be, based off what it does, but not really having an in-depth knowledge of the actual game. So I thought, why not do the same thing with Raren? We take a bunch of cards, he gets to rate them, and then I give my actual genuine opinion about the game and what the game is. What the f is my hair doing? Anyways, I will see you tomorrow. Mwah.
Do you want to do a clap sync or no?
A clap sync?
Yeah, like 1, 2, 3 clap. It helps your editor just line up the footage. It's up to you though.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if your editor wants that.
Andrew, fuck you. I'm not gonna do that. So, chats, we are here today because Raren likes to make people feel dumb.
That's not why I do. Okay, yeah, continue.
Raren likes views.
That for sure.
And I know that this type of content gets good views, so I stole it from him. And today we ask the question, is Raren smart? Mods, start a prediction. Will Raren get more than 5 cards right? There are 10 cards on here.
Okay.
10. Your goal is simply 50-50. It's to say, is a card good or bad? And then give like your description, and we'll just judge, is he correct or is he, you know, like, I'm gonna be fair. I'm not gonna be like, well, you said it was good because of this reason, but it was really good, unless it's like super far. You know what I'm saying, right? Like it's
Yeah.
All right. And while they're running a prediction, let's watch a clip of what started this all.
Okay, me personally, I love this card, but I wouldn't take it now until later. I'd have to get something that like amplifies this card. I've never taken this card once. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this.
So that's the clip. That's the clip. You said that Heavy Blade was really good and True Grit was really bad. And that's kind of like what sparked the whole thing, because Heavy Blade is really fucking bad and True Grit is really fucking good.
Yeah.
And it was just funny that it was like all at the same time. And that was
listen.
Also when you've been on Ascension 20. So like,
yeah, I'm just built different. Right? I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, what was your defense?
I was gonna say the fact that it got me to 820 was enough of a justification why I thought it was good.
That's fair. So this is
for the watcher. This is for the watcher.
No, I did. I did some of every character.
Every character. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
You played a character to Ascension 20 and was wrong about 2 cards next to each other. I felt like it would be good to bring you up to speed on all these different cards. Okay. Card number 1.
Let me ask one question for the record.
Yeah. No. Yep.
You can leave that card on the board. The screen is fine. It's fine.
It's okay. No. Hey, what was your question?
Who decides whether or not a card is good or not? Okay. And are you doing this impartially, or is this like, do you have data, or is this just like bias completely of like what you think is a good card and what you think is not a good card?
Most of these opinions I steal from Jorbs. So
okay, and I actually heard earlier today that Jorbs is like arguably one of the best players at this game.
I don't have a single original thought about this game. Okay, the first card, Tools of the Trade. It's a rare card, and at the start of your turn, draw 1 card and discard a card. While you're thinking about this first card, I'm going to preface to everybody in chat that you might see a card here, and I might say it's bad, but it's like, you're like, oh, but I take it all the time, or I take it this time, or I take it that time. There's no card in Slay the Spire, except maybe Clash, that is like truly unplayable at any point. There's just cards that are worse and less commonly taken. So that's like the way that I think about it, is like a card just might not be good in an average deck, but might be good in a specific deck, but it's like on average, it's going to be pretty bad for you.
I will say, just from like my reasoning for the most part, whether or not I say a card is good or not. In Hearthstone, we call it the draw and win rate. So when you play a card, usually in that case, it's going to be really good because you played it, right? So you can't actually look at that. It has to be on average every time you draw this. Are you happy to draw that card? That's usually how I decide.
Okay, that's really good. Let's add that in. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's really like applicable to Slay the Spire as well, because like how often do you get into Act 2 and you draw like 5 strikes against the avocado on floor 1 of Act 2, and you're like, oh, 21 damage to my face, and I only get to chip 1 plated armor. This is great.
Yes. So it is a, like, obviously the sample size you have is a lot bigger than mine too. But yeah, in Hearthstone, it's usually dictated by the drawn win rate. Unless it's a card that you want in your opening hand. That's like usually there's something that's here. Which is a good example of a good tools of the trade, right? Because it's a power card. You only get to play it once, and then it's out of your draw pile. So that's that already makes it a pretty good card if the effect is good. And at the start of your turn, draw 1 card and discard 1 card is actually a pretty good effect because you often get to pick a card you don't need in your hand against an enemy that you want to draw another card that potentially might be better. There's also a lot of synergies with a card like this, especially because this is a silent card. There's a lot of discard. You can get maneuver, which gives you more energy. This is a pretty great card.
Final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
It's not that good of a card. That is incorrect. And I'll explain why. And I think it's the difference between Slay the Spire and Hearthstone. Of like, a card in Hearthstone that draws 1 is like good, right? It's not bad, right? Like a card that like gets something down or like does something then also draws is like pretty good. Like it's value. I mean, modern Hearthstone, probably not, but like back in the day that I played where you played Novice Engineer and people thought that was the craziest card that needed to be nerfed like 3 times. So the reason why this card is bad is because in general, if I draw this card, okay, I have to draw it. And let's say, so I draw it and then I play it. Next turn, when I draw an additional card, that additional card would have been the card that I would have already seen if Tools of the Trade wasn't in my deck. Does that make sense?
For the first time you draw, yes.
Yes. And then the second turn, you're finally draw positive. So it's a rare card that takes 2 turns to become positive towards your deck unless you have some sort of discard synergy. So unless you already are like cooking on discard synergies, and even then like acrobatic spams and like calculated gamble spams are just in general better. The really only like the only time that this is like super like snap pick is if you have like hovering kite and the relic that makes it so when you discard a card for the first time every turn you get an energy. But then like if you think about it, you always get the rare card decision first before you get the relic. So like it's such a weird time of like you don't oftentimes get to choose Tools of the Trade after already being in a position that you're like, I would really like a hovering kite. Like it's so weird. But it's such an awkward card that I feel like it is more often than not really, really bad. Like it's just bloating to your deck. But again, like every card in the game, it's playable. But I would say that this one is overall not super taken, and I think that you're wrong.
Okay, fair enough.
That was fun. Wait, I like this.
Yeah, wasn't it fun? Yeah, it's fun to tell people that they're wrong and stupid. It feels good.
Wait, how did it feel when you told Day 9 that he was an idiot?
Oh, it felt fantastic.
All right, second card. Another silent card. We're going to be doing 3 silent cards here. The silent, we're going to focus on a lot of rares, because I think the silent has like a lot of controversial rares, okay? And you think that you're very proficient in the silent. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying you claim that it's your most proficient character, and so far, you were wrong on a single card.
To be fair, I think it is my best character. Do I think I'm proficient on the character is a completely different sentence.
Anyways, second card, 1,000 cuts, or 1,000 cuts. Whenever you play a card, deal 1 damage to all enemies, or upgraded, deal 2 damage to all enemies every time you play a card.
I love this card. I legitimately think it's the most fun card in the silent because it feels good to do 1 damage.
Oh, I agree with you. It's so fun to use, yeah.
It's so fun. Now, this is a case of like, in higher ascensions, it's almost unplayable. Like you need a really good build for this card. Like you need to. And often there's just better things you could be doing for 2 energy. Like that's what it usually comes down to. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. But like you really don't want to do 2 mana do nothing against a lot of the later fights, especially. So like this card's unfortunately bad. But yeah, I do love it.
I agree. And like a lot of people will be like, oh, it's really good in like discard synergy infinites. And like, yeah, so is Eviscerate, and it's just way better. Like like if I play 1 Eviscerate that's upgraded, it's 27 damage. And if you that would require you to play 13 cards in order to deal the same amount with a power.
Yeah, like it's so cool, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's just it feels so good. It's a dopamine hit card.
It's a dopamine hit, and it's good into like a certain number of fights, right? Like if you need AoE, but like again, like you said, there's just better AoE cards, there's just better options, there's just different things that the character would be doing. So no, you are correct.
If you asked me that, like if I started my silent journey, I would have said that this is one of the best cards in the class.
I was worried how you started that one out. All right, next card and the final silent card. Wraith form. Notice how the card is blurry because being intangible is kind of like being blurry. At the end of your turn, lose 1 dexterity, but you are invincible for 2 or 3 turns if upgraded.
Okay, so this card is very good. I think the concept of losing your dexterity is really bad over maybe a very long period of time. But the thought process you should have for a card like this is that you're protecting yourself so you can kill them quicker where the dexterity will not matter. That's basically what it comes down to. Also, upgrading this card is very good. Also, copying this card is very good. There's just a lot of benefits for a card like this. This is arguably one of the best cards in the Silent.
I almost was thinking about docking you from saying it's pretty good and not saying it's one of the best, because it is. Yeah, it is absolutely one of the best. Yeah, a lot of newer players, and that's why I wanted to give it here, think that this card is really bad and they have trouble using it. But yeah, it's if you like unupgraded, I can understand it being kind of difficult for people to use. But upgraded, it is like you draw it in a hallway fight, you play it. Like most hallway fights take on average 4 to 6 turns. So like just having 3 turns, if like the turn that you're playing it is just playing that card and then you end, like having 3 turns after that to just do only damage, you should have a proficient enough deck in order to defeat hallway fights in turns of freeness.
This card specifically tells you if your build is good enough or not. Like it's kind of like a check, because like this card should carry you throughout the majority of the game. Also, the great thing about like if they give about this, it's like reverse of 1,000 cuts, because this one card is like infinite block in a sense. There's no way for you to actually like get a value for how much this potentially protects you. In any card game, by the way, like if you give this effect to literally any card game, it would be played.
Okay, those were the silent cards. How do you feel? You're 2 for 1 right now. Or you're 2 and 1.
I feel very good.
That's nice.
I think the first one's a little bit more iffy, but it's fine. We'll move past it.
Oh my god. You've been practicing the defect. You're not entirely done with your climb on the defects.
Yeah.
So let's see where you're at.
I'm really nervous for this one.
How good is it? How good is it, Ron?
Hey, the question you're asking me is, am I trying to please chat, or am I being objective?
How good is the fucking card here, man?
Let me read let me read it first. Claw, 0 energy, obviously insane. It's infinite value. Deal 3 damage, increase the damage of all claw cards by 2 this combat. So I think in terms of a lot of cards in the defect, this is not one of the best cards. But here's the thing. There are very few times where this card is absolutely insanely good. You have to, what's that other card called that draws all your 0 cost cards?
All for one?
Is it all for one?
The one that brings them back from your discard pile?
Yeah. If you get all for one and you have a very good build for the claw, like this could be a very, very good card. Like just, you have to have a very specific like build for it though. But honestly, majority of the time it's not super great, because you would rather have other cards that do more useful stuff. But this is the best card of the game.
Seems like you're really trying to fence it there, man.
How do you respond?
Really seems like you're trying to fence it.
Well, here's the thing. Now I give you the ability to either make your chat hate you, or you be real.
I am, for the first time in my entire life, going to give my genuine and true opinion on Claw.
Okay.
I think Claws are good every single run. Literally every single run to kill bosses.
Because they're long fights, sure.
Yeah, they're long fights. You can scale into it, and you can play defense while this one card plays offense for you. Yeah, but sure. I think that Claw builds and like putting your entire deck around Claws are 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100 fucking dog shit and trash. Because you're just drawing like the early turns of every single fight. You're drawing like 0 mana, deal nothing, block for nothing, and you just like slowly die over time.
Yes.
But I don't think that that's what you said. So I want to dock you. You kind of said the exact fucking opposite. You said if you have a claw build, it's really fucking good.
No, if you have a claw build with all for one, this card can actually roll opponents. It can be very good. Like straight up very, very strong. But again, I said in a very specific, like you don't build around this card. You kind of have to just fall into it. Like I'm not picking this card unless I want to meme around, and then sometimes you get the dream. Majority of the time, I'm not taking this card.
Chat, do we give it to him? Yes or no?
let's be real here. We both know this card's not great. Like, come on. Like, what are we trying to do this for chat?
Kaz kind of leaning towards you getting your shit docked here.
There's no right answer for this card.
Let's move on to the second defect card. These are going to be less controversial, I think. And we will move on to I believe, the only rare defect card that I chose. Hyperbeam. 2 mana, deal 26 or 32 damage if upgraded to all enemies, but you lose 3 focus for the rest of the combat.
So this one's okay. This is kind of you're saying this is more objective, like this is good or bad?
Yeah, how often are you going to be picking this card?
I lean towards good, because 2 mana to deal 26 damage to all enemies is often just very good. And if you're losing 3 focus for it, yeah, like focus is really important in specific builds, but often if I'm picking this, I don't have a build that focuses around the orbs as much. And I'd rather just finish a fight than worry about my focus. So I often think this card's pretty good.
I completely fucking agree. I think that, like, I don't take this card often enough, and I really should. I think if you find it early, it's a win condition for the first act, and then it's a win condition against a lot of hallway fights in the second act, and even, like, the slavers. And as you go later into the game, like, the later you get into the game, obviously, like, the worse it gets, because it doesn't scale, so it doesn't help you as things scale. But the later into the game you get, the more you're fine with having some cards that you pass up, because you're removing your strikes and defense, you're refining your deck down. So having a card that is like, sometimes I'll use it, sometimes I won't, but when I do use it, it's super necessary and it feels really good. Like Reptomancer has all 4 daggers out, and I play Genetic Algorithm Hyperbeam and just clear the fucking board and block. Like, I agree with you. I think it's a pretty good card. Just big AoE bonk is solid for a lot of the game, even though it's not, like, I think a lot of times, like, chat voted that this card is situational. And, I disagree. I disagree that it's situational. I think it's takeable a lot more than you think. It's just not as takeable, like, in Act 3, where you're seeing the most amount of rare cards, right? You see more rare cards in Act 3 and Act 4, and so, yes, it feels like you are seeing it and not taking it as much, but I think in the early acts, it should be something that you should take a lot more often. It's situational to use, not to take. Yes, but that's not what we're talking about. Get fucked.
Well, okay, to be fair, the context for chat to defend them, if we're making the baseline of like draw, how often do you want to play this card if you draw it? Like situational is probably the correct answer. Because you just described exactly what draw win rate would have been.
Takeable not in Act 3 is the definition of situational. What is not? What the hell? That's like saying every single card in the game is situational then. Oh my god, I've taken 3 acrobatics. Do I want a 4th one? Ooh, well, maybe if my deck is doing this one thing. Every fucking card in the game at that point is fucking situational, man.
You're right.
I decide these things. Sorry. Oh, I forgot to do the fade in thing. The next card's Recycle. I don't think the rest of the PowerPoint has the fade in, so we're just gonna... The next card is Recycle. 1 mana or 0 mana if upgraded. Exhaust a card and gain energy equal to its cost.
Personally, I've never taken it.
Okay.
I don't think this card's worth it. I think the problem with this card is that you often pick cards in your deck to use, not to exhaust them. So in the early game, I think it's like whatever. Later in the game, maybe it has more use case depending on what your build is, but I am not a fan of this card. I think it's not good. I could see it being okay, but I would pick other cards over this one.
This card is crazy fucking good. This card is amazing. This card is stupid good.
Yes, I've never picked it. So.
Yeah. And
there's a lot about me.
Here's the way that I'll argue it. You're saying that you don't take cards to exhaust them. I think that you take cards to do both. Like, I'll take a Meteor Strike and a Recycle, and sometimes I'll exhaust something to get the energy to play Meteor Strike, or sometimes I'll exhaust Meteor Strike to get the energy to do other things. Like, the difference between those two is such a drastically different combination that both end up with like really, really interesting and cool results. And then later, as you get into the game, like against the late bosses and a lot of status enemies, and then like the heart fight, like the heart fight goes on way too many turns. You get to like refine your deck down, and sometimes it can help you go infinite. Like there's so many use cases for this card. I find it being incredibly useful. I think the game over like the last 3 years has really shifted its meta from taking energy relics to taking cards that supplement energy and taking more useful relics that don't have downsides. And so cards like Turbo and Recycle and Aggregate have like really moved up in value, and I think Recycle is like one of the top tier ones.
Yeah, maybe you described the Meteor interaction. I've never actually thought about that. Meteor's another card I've just never picked because I always just think it's going to be bad. But maybe that is making it more worth it. I'm going to be real. When I play the defect, I like to go for the orb strategy. I'm a big fan of just like stacking that with focus and getting more orbs. And I never see recycling being good for that because often I'd rather just cycle through my orbs as much as possible. But yeah, maybe I should consider it more.
Got to. I think you're 3 for 3 right now, or 3 and 3. I think it's 3 to 3 right now. You're keeping it even for content. I don't know if you're doing this on purpose.
No, I'm not.
Next up, we're moving on to the Watcher, character that I said originally we were going to focus on a lot, but just doing this, I found a really healthy balance, and I think this is going to be really good. I think going into the Watcher, character that you've really not touched at all, I think is going to be really fun because everybody. So. Are you aware of what the community as a whole thinks of the Watcher?
No idea.
Okay, so
no idea.
The Watcher is a character that, in my opinion, is really cool for the player and really boring for the Watcher, as in the viewer, not the Watcher, the character. She has a very, very, very high skill floor, really hard to get into the character, but once you get good at the Watcher, high-level players that are taking runs like as seriously as possible have like a 95% win rate with her on Ascension 20. Like, she is dummy easy.
Okay, well, that's good.
So, but it's like getting into her is really fucking difficult, but the meme is that Watcher has lethal because everything that she does just does insane amounts of damage. Okay. All right. Let's go into a fun territory. First up, Alpha. It's a 1-mana card that shuffles a beta into your draw pile and then exhausts. You're more than welcome to ask me any questions that you want.
What is beta? What is beta?
Okay, beta is a 2-mana card that will shuffle an Omega into your draw pile.
Okay, what's Omega?
Omega is a 3-mana card that will, it is a power that will, it says, at the end of every turn, deal 50 damage to all enemies.
Holy fuck. 50 damage?
50 damage to all enemies every single turn.
Oh my god, that's kind of sick. So that's 6 mana to start doing 50 damage per turn.
This character's insanely good at cycling, by the way. One of the easiest characters to go infinite with.
Okay, I got to think about how good this is. From what I remember, like I played the Watcher once for like the first Slay the Spire video I did, and if I remember, it's like the wrath form does double damage, but you take double.
Yep.
Does the Omega scale with that or no?
No,
or is it like a static 50?
Yeah,
static 50?
Yeah, it's just static 50.
Okay.
60 damage.
Then they have
upgraded.
Okay, and then they have Divinity, which is like does nothing, but once you exit it, you get 2 energy. I think it was
Calm. Calm does nothing, but when you exit, you get 2 energy. Divinity.
Divinity was the
yeah.
Okay.
It's 1 turn, triple damage.
Static 50 damage for 6. God, that's really interesting. That's tough because it's like in longer fights that is incredible. You're spending 1 mana to shuffle another card into your deck sounds bad. Then 2 mana to shuffle another card into your deck sounds awful, but then the payoff is very good. And I don't know how defensive the Watcher truly is. I feel like you could probably just do the exact same thing, but better, and not worry about shuffling cards into your deck. But fuck, I want to take this card so bad. That sounds awesome. Oh man, this is tough. I feel like it's bad. I'm gonna lean to, like I'm just speaking strictly from like card game standpoints. I feel like it's not great. I think consistency is more important than just like hoping I get to play the Omega. But God, how good?
What if I tell you that there's a card called Omniscience that lets you play any card in your draw pile twice?
Yeah, but that's a win more. Like, do you really need that? Like, maybe you do. How much is the card you just said? 2 mana? 1 mana?
It's 1, 2, 3.
No. The one that gets to play it twice.
Omniscience, 3 or 4 cost. Yeah. If unupgraded. It's 4 cost unupgraded. The Watcher has like so her passive is like you get a miracle, which is like a retaining card in your hand that gives you 1 energy whenever you want. So she can play it pretty easily. She can play Omniscience.
Oh my god, I have no idea how good this is.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. But no, final answer. Do you think it's bad?
I want to say it's good, but I think it leans towards bad. I feel like it's too greedy.
This card is fucking trash.
You think fucking god.
And I will give it to you since you lean towards bad when you don't know any of the cards. I will give that one to you. I think if you knew the character, if you had played the character, if you were Ascension 17 as the character and you said it was leaning towards bad, I think I would dock you. But not knowing any of it, I think that counts.
Okay. Thank you.
You are correct in like she can naturally do the same thing, but easier. Yeah, she like comes out of the gate with a lot of damage that, yeah, cycling this, it doesn't always make sense. On the decks that you can pull this off, though, it feels so unbelievably satisfying because it's almost always a deck that does combo with like some sort of omniscience or something that lets you play multiple versions of it. So like whenever it gets off, enemies they're insta dead. They pop. Versus like with like stance switching, it's called stance dancing is what people say, because you're switching stances like 100 times per turn. Just takes a while, but it's like you're invincible.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right.
This felt greedy.
Yeah. Okay. Next card. Deva form. So this is the form card of the Watcher, right? The Wraith form, Demon form, Echo form. 3 mana, ethereal. If upgraded, just takes away the ethereal. At the start of your turn, gain 1 energy and increase this gain by 1. So you'll gain 1 energy the next turn, 2 energy the next turn, 3 energy the next turn, etc., etc. Infinitely scaling energy. Like it's a Juicy Bracelet and a Vajra and a Singing Bowl, which I don't really get those. Those don't really have anything to do with energy. It's just random ass shit.
Maybe it increases her mantra. I don't know how else to describe it. I'm trying to figure. Okay, there's a card in the defect, I forget its name, that it's a power. Once you play it, the first card you played per turn is played twice.
Echo form.
Yeah. I think that card's very good because you kind of cheat mana in a sense. You're paying you're investing in yourself to cheat mana, which I think is very good. This is almost the same concept where it's like you're not playing a card twice, but you're getting like more mana every turn that this passes. And if you get to play this really early in the game, it seems very strong. But again, it comes down to like, based on what you're describing, it almost feels like the Watcher doesn't need this because if you exit stance so much, you're getting the mana anyways. So why am I paying 3 mana for this if I have to wait like maybe like 3 turns to get the mana back? Oh, this is tough, but honestly, it could be really good too. On average, do I want this in my deck?
I just like, I love just being silent and letting like your thought process play out because it's so interesting coming from somebody that has just an extensive card game, strategy game background.
Thank you. Well, it's tough because Slay the Spire is like a completely different game, right? Like in Hearthstone, I can think of it as, would I spend 3 mana to increase my mana every single turn? In that game, I fucking would. But this game's a lot quicker in the sense of how fast damage accelerates. So it's interesting. I don't know if this is necessarily good. I think Echo Form is stronger. How many turns do you really need? Like if you draw this later into the battle, like it feels miserable playing it. So I think on average,
so does Echo Form.
Yeah, but I think Echo Form immediately showcases its value the turn after.
Yes.
Like this one, I think you need more time. Like you need, especially because you're saying that the passive card is gain a mana and you get mana for exiting stances that you probably are going to cycle through quite a bit. Like I feel like this is redundant, so you probably don't want it. It's probably bad.
Final answer?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Oh my god, let's go.
Wow. Is that 5? Is that exactly 5?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
So you need to get this last card correct if you would like to pay out the believer. It is down to the wire.
What happens if I tie? You gotta pull up another random ass card.
I do have a bonus round.
Okay.
Which we will do no matter what, but it's not the same format.
Okay. Oh, that's exciting.
All right. The last
I'm
card,
guessing my reasoning was perfect because you didn't get anything onto what I said.
No, your reasoning was perfect, yeah. The last card is Pressure Points. You apply 8 mark to an enemy, and then all enemies lose HP equal to their mark. So if I apply 8 mark to this guy, he then takes 8 damage. And then the next turn, if I apply, or if I have another Pressure Points, if I just play another one, it goes to 16 mark, and then they lose 16 health. But if I apply to multiple enemies, every time that I play a Pressure Points or another mark card, everybody will lose damage equal to their mark after I play it. Does that make sense? So like if I'm against like the birds and 2 of them have 8 mark, if I apply 8 mark to the third one, all 3 of them will take 8 damage.
Okay, so one other question is, do any other cards synergize with this? Or is this like the only thing?
In Slay the Spire?
Yeah, like do any other cards mark? No. Or is it just this? This is the only mark card.
It is the only mark card.
Ooh.
There's a lot of mods that add more mark stuff, and it's very nice.
Well, I'm assuming we're doing base game.
Yes.
100%. Okay, I gotta think this through. So 1 mana to deal 8 damage. Because based on what this card reads, you apply 8 mark and then it does 8 damage.
Wait, I was wrong. This is the last card. There's one more. Sorry, this is 9. Sorry. Anyways, continue.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So you apply 8 mark. That character takes 8 damage immediately.
It does bypass block, by the way.
Oh.
because they're losing HP, not taking damage.
Ooh.
Taking damage
yeah,
equals hit them like an attack. Losing HP means they just genuinely lose HP.
That's better than dealing damage.
It's like poison.
Most of the time. It's probably good. I'm just trying to think. If this is the only damage, the only mark card in the entire base game, I'm just trying to think about how often you can really apply marks. Because the thing is like, you only apply it to one target at a time. That scales very quickly.
It does. It actually, like, it scales so fucking quickly.
But the other thing is like not divinity. What is it? What's the rage one called? I had it. The wrath. That doesn't double the damage, right? Like you're just applying a mark.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So like I don't like that really as much.
So just to like describe the Watcher to you, think of it as like the defect with having like strength scaling stuff, right? With having like claws and beam cells and all for ones. It's like an alternative play style, right? It's not.
Sure.
Like, yes, the stance switching stuff is like the primary, just like defects is orbs. But it's still like is good to have some other things sometimes. Again, I'm not trying to like sway you in one way. I'm just trying to like describe it from the stance of like, yes, it doesn't get increased damage, but
it's alternative playstyle. Yeah, I get it. But like off meta stuff usually isn't better than like the best thing to be doing.
Right.
So it's tough to really say how good this truly is. I always feel like this is like not redundant, but it doesn't go with the playstyle that the Watcher truly wants to be. So I feel like it's worse than average. Like I'd rather just do damage, because like how many turns do you really have? I mean, how many times do you have to play this for this to do more damage than like the average damage card for the Watcher?
Like
I would feel like you have
times.
to. Yeah, because like 16 damage is great. I guess the only thing that really makes me want to say that this card's good is that it immediately procs the mark, and all of them proc it. But it's tough because it's like if you maybe in the really right build where you go like calm out of it, and you keep cycling and you keep playing these, that you probably roll your opponent. But
not
like
focusing on
just,
wrath and just focusing on getting out of calm to get the energy.
But if I'm thinking of like purely in a vacuum, like I feel like this isn't as good as just dealing damage. So I would lean towards this isn't great.
Final answer.
But I think it's worse than what. I have to say it like this because I think this is the only correct way of saying this. I don't necessarily think this is awful. Like it's not like objectively just bad, but I think on average you would probably rather go just dealing wrath damage and just killing your opponent faster than worrying about pressure points.
You were saying that it was leaning towards bad, which makes me want to dock you because this card is absolute fucking garbage. Like it is really bad.
This one's tough.
Like
this one's tough.
It's the worst Watcher card. Like it is doo doo poo poo.
Oh, objectively, it's the worst Watcher card.
Like it's He did say bad at the end. He said bad at the very, very end. He did.
You could dock me. You could dock me if you want. That's fine. It's fine. This one's really tough because again, it's like if I don't know how much draw the Watcher truly has, but if you have infinite mana and infinite draw, this could be fucking insane. Like this is actually like nuts. But I feel like most times you would again rather just do a regular Watcher build.
Chad is saying that alpha is worse. I disagree, honestly. I think that I actually disagree. I disagree.
Okay.
I think that alpha is a lot more playable just because of like other cards in the game synergize, whereas pressure points has literally nothing that synergizes with it other than more pressure points. Like versus like claw, it has a lot of cards in it because it's like oftentimes compared to claw of just being like the goofy card that doesn't really make sense, right? But like claw has things that synergize with it in the defects, like all the other zero cost things that's all synergize. Like versus like I don't know. Chat's just huffing copium. I say that it was really close, but for content, we're going to dock you so that it's 5-4 and you have to get their last card right. Content. It's content. We're men of content here, right? Like
fair enough.
We understand. Okay. So the last card is actually an ironclad card. So one ironclad card that I included.
Okay.
So pressure points right now, right? We just look at this card and what this reads as. It says apply 8 mark, scam, and then all enemies lose HP to their mark, right? So if I apply 8 mark to somebody, and then I do it again, how much damage is it doing the second time?
16.
Okay. So the next card is Rampage, where I will deal 8 damage and then increase this card's value by 5 or 8 if upgraded, which you increase 8 by 8. What does that mean that you're doing next time?
16.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Okay, so is this a good card or not?
Why did you have to say it like that?
What do you think this, Def? What do you think this?
I don't think this card's very good. I every time I've taken it, I've hated it. Like, I feel like it's its ass. And sometimes I'm like, damn, I'm really glad I took this because it did just enough damage. But like, again, I'd rather just pick better cards. So it's not good.
Your final answer is that Rampage is not good?
Yeah, that's my answer.
I think that
Mr.
Rampage
Prime?
is actually kind of good. I don't think it's very good, but I think it like really heavily leans towards good because of how amazing it is to defeat Act 1. Like, I think this card solely defeats Act 1. Like, by itself. Because your deck is so small and it does so much damage so quickly. It defeats every single enemy in Act 1 by itself except Slime Boss. There is... Like, I don't think it's a great card, chat, but he said it's trash. He said it's awful. He said it was like a bottom of the barrel card. It is not. It's actually good. It's not a bottom of the barrel card. Only if you have Headbutt. Bro, that is not true in the early game of the run. You have fucking 10 cards in your deck. You're going to draw it 2 or 3 times against every single combat.
Okay, but let's be real here. Comparatively to other Ironclad cards, this is on the bottom of the cards, correct?
No, I think it is above average. I take this more often. Than I
Really?
think. Yes.
Okay.
I take it. Yes, it is only really takeable in the first half of the game. Yes, but I am happy to see this card in the early game. It is less likely that you see it because it's an uncommon card, sure. So you don't get as many runs with it. But I am excited to see this card because it wins you the early game, and then it is a card that can transition well into the late game versus something like Fire Breathing that might just defeat the Slime Boss. Like, if you see Fire Breathing in Act 1, you just take it for the Slime Boss, right? But later on in the game, it's like harder to build your deck around Fire Breathing. But Rampage, even though it is like literally a pressure points, it scales with your vulnerable. I think the Ironclad has better ways of breaking your deck down in mid combat while maintaining like a really strong form versus the Watcher that has really good cycle, but when you're doing the really good cycle thing, it doesn't synergize well with pressure points. But with the Ironclad, it does synergize really well.
Hold on. Explain why this is better than Pressure Point.
Because it scales with the rest of your stuff and it synergizes with the rest of your stuff.
What do you mean by stuff? Like strength?
Strength, vulnerable. Pressure points is also affected by artifact. Pressure points is also affected by things like the
I didn't
Hex
know
in
that.
Act 2. You didn't ask.
That's
it's a
fair
spell.
enough.
It puts on a mark. It's the little gold text. That's a thing. That's a debuff. Gold text is debuff.
That's fair. Okay, fair enough. You know what? I didn't even realize that.
Frostprime is a crisis actor. Well, now, chat, we just have a 5-for-5 tie. And like I alluded to before, there's a bonus round.
Okay.
There is a bonus round that I don't think Rawrin is going to get correctly. I think I was really, really evil on this one.
Okay, it's fine. I'm gonna pull through for the boys.
So this bonus round, I am going to present to you a blank card.
Okay.
Like a blank card. Like, it's going to be a card with no text on it in the body of it. It has the name. And you have to tell me what the card does.
Okay.
Because it's a card that I don't know if you've ever seen before or you've ever taken before.
Yeah.
You don't have to be entirely accurate. So if you just think that the card gives you strength, I will give you, it gives you strength. You don't have to give me, you know what I'm saying? Like it
yes,
or like,
yeah,
if
it doesn't have to be verbatim.
Yeah, it exhausts the card or, whatever. All right. Are you ready?
Yep. Oh, God. I've never seen this card in my life, but I fucking love the art.
This card is called Live Forever.
Okay. And I mean this genuinely, I have never seen this card before in the game. I've never seen it. I'm assuming you unlock this from the Watcher if I had to guess.
I will tell you this is the beta art because the beta art's way too good. They would never do this like SpongeBob shit in the actual game.
Yeah.
Do you unlock this from the Watcher?
Yes.
Okay, I've never seen the card. How do I know what a card does if I've never seen it?
Use some context.
What the fuck do you mean you?
No, let me tell you, everything that I did here is purposeful. Let's use some context here.
All right, well, if you're living forever,
Okay.
I'm assuming that means you can't die.
Right.
So I mean, maybe that means you get infinite artifact, but every single turn you lose 1 strength and 1 dexterity. I don't know.
Okay. What is the art of the card?
You're in a wheelchair. You're an avocado. Is it you get like metallic armor at the end of your turn? Every turn? But you lose something?
Am I on the right track?
I will give that to you. I will give that to you.
Shit.
You get plated armor at the end of your turn. So
What'd I say? Metallic? Okay.
metallic, but you got the idea that it was the avocado. Oh, the avocado has armor. So I'm gonna give that to you. I think you should deserve that from never having seen this card. Because you know how dirty I did you?
How dirty?
This is a beta art of a card.
Yeah.
Notice how this card doesn't have a cost.
Oh shit, I didn't even notice. You're right.
Yeah. It's because this card is actually inside of another card. Have you ever heard of the card Wish?
That sounds somewhat familiar.
Wish is a 3-cost watcher card that allows you to choose one of 3. You either gain strength, gain money, or gain the plated armor. And so it is one of the 3 options inside of that. And it has not only its own its own art, but also its own beta art.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
But that's a great reference.
It's good.
Fantastic reference. All right, so the boys pulled through. They get the what is the believers get their points?
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Believe that the believers get their points from the 6 out of 5, the 6 to 5 from the bonus round from the top rope. Yeah, you basically gave him the answer. Chat. If I scroll up in the chat, when I said context, every single one of you said in all caps, context, question mark, exclamation mark. What context, question mark, exclamation mark. Y'all motherfuckers didn't fucking see it. He did. Eat shit.
Let's go. Yeah, eat shit.
These fucking chatters don't even know.